Warriors, who arrived back home in Oakland yesterday without their injured star Kevin Durant. He came this way to New York to undergo an MRI on his injured Achilles. The MRI was being performed by Dr. Martin O'Malley, who was the Nets team physician. KD's mother, Wanda, was on Good Morning America this morning with Robin Roberts. Let's hear a little bit of that.
Did the Warriors make a mistake? Did they rush him?
Yes, I've heard that. Well, you know, it's still out right now. We don't know. He felt that he was able to play, and they said that he could play, and so we still have to analyze that and see if, you know, they made the right decision. That's kind of up in the air right now. I was excited for him because I know how much he loved the game, and I know he's been injured before, so I knew that he wouldn't jeopardize himself. So when he told me he was ready to play, I said, okay. You know, the doctors said that he was okay. Kevin couldn't have gone on his own to say, I'm going to play.
True.
Without the advisement of the doctor.
Okay, we were just turning that around sort of instantaneously, so we apologize for jumping out of it a little bit, but you sort of got the sense there Wanda Durant did not seem to, at least in this moment, be directly criticizing the Warriors or the decision to go ahead and have Kevin play. I did notice also, I'm sure many of you saw it, I retweeted it yesterday, KD's mom, Wanda, tweeting something yesterday sort of aimed at all of KD's critics, all those who would question his heart, question his desire, all that sort of thing, which does continue to play into the narrative, Marcus, that you and I have mentioned many times here. And this is not a criticism, it is just an observation. He seems to be, and they seem to be, very, very aware of things that are said about him. And when he made the decision to go to Golden State, everyone already knows what that was all about. Joining the 73-win team that had just beaten them in the hard playoff series. That there was criticism, and there were people questioning the mental toughness of that decision and all the rest of that. We will never know for sure, unless Kevin comes out and says it, just how much that played into this decision to go out there and try and be the hero.
Well, Greeny, we talked about it on this show, and I said when we talked about Kevin Durant and free agency, I said I hope he goes somewhere where it can be his own. And that wasn't because you take credit away from what Kevin Durant has done in Golden State. That doesn't mean that Golden State is not a better team with Kevin Durant. We all know that they're better when he's on the floor. What I was alluding to was the timeline and the things that we've seen Kevin Durant respond to. And you have to ask the question based on everything that's transpired. Burner accounts, having these conversations with people that have no validity or probably don't even know the first thing about a basketball practice, talking about his game, people questioning him about coming back. I never in one time questioned if KD loved the game. You can't be that good if you don't love the game.
You've known him for a really long time.
I watched him work out when he was 15 years old. Every time I've ever seen him work out, he's absolutely, totally lost in the game. That dude loves the game, loves to work on his game, loves to be around ball, talk ball. But I understand what you're saying, Swagger, but here's my thing, is that he's also a guy that has strong opinions. And he has strong opinions, and he's not afraid to share his opinions. So, like, to me, to think that an outside source would basically back him into a corner to get him to play, that's not Kevin Durant, and surely that should not be his support system. Someone there, I think, needed to pull him back, even if he was thinking that way, and say, KD, here's the risk, here's the reward. All right, we're going to go see our own medical staff, and then we're going to make a decision. To me, that's the thing. But that dude, he is lost in the game.
Well, it's interesting because as we spin this forward and how it may affect free agency, you asked a really interesting question earlier, Greeny, to Woj about the fact that KD went to the Nets doctor, O'Malley, who had done some of his surgeries before, so there's a relationship standing there. But Woj said nothing to read into that. You've got to think there's something there that he didn't continue on with the Warriors for further inspection and all of this.
Well, I mean, we have reason to believe, I don't know this for certain, we have reason to believe that Durant has information already regarding his injury that the Warriors themselves don't yet have. So it's easy to understand. Look, they've got a game to get ready for tomorrow night that we're going to talk about here in less than a minute, and he obviously is looking at a whole other thing. What I'd like to ask, if you gave me the opportunity to ask Kevin Durant one question right now, and maybe I will get that opportunity at some point, it would be, knowing what you know now, would you still do it? would you still go out there and run the risk of doing this? He's trying to win a championship. We've seen athletes risk a lot more than that. This is a guy who's not going to wind up losing any money or not significant money as a consequence of this. He's going to have a terrible year of rehab and all that. I'm not trying to minimize the impact of the injury. It's obviously a terrible thing that happened. But he's an all-time great player with a chance to lead his team from 3-1 down to win a championship. Knowing what you know now, would you still do it? And I don't know for certain the answer is going to be no. I really don't. I'm dying to hear what he would say.
I brought up this point. I think the answer would be yes. I think he would tell you, yes, I still would do it. But Kevin Durant can afford to do it.
Right.
All right, think about when we were talking about Kawhi last year. Kawhi hadn't seen a big payday.
Yes.
He hadn't been the Kevin Durant of making a ton of money in OKC and coming into Golden State, making a lot of money. When guys have the ability to take pay cuts, that means they have a lot of money already. So, and from a business standpoint, I'm not saying that's the most important thing to KD, but KD was able to come back and make this decision because he's not in the position where most other guys are in.
Yeah, I would just say it's not all about money sometimes, and we'll still feel for KD. But let's get to Game 6 because we do have one. The Warriors look to become the 4th team in finals history to force a Game 7 after being down 3-1. The only team to complete the comeback was the 2016 Cavaliers against the Warriors. Now to get there, they'll need to win Game 6 at home on Thursday night. It'll be the final game at Oracle Arena. Everyone wondered, would we get another one there? And we do. The Warriors have called that their permanent home since 1971. However, they are 0-2 this series at home. The road team has won each of the last 4 games. It's the 3rd series in finals history where the road team won 4 straight. Now, as for the Raptors, they're still 1 win away from their first title. Kawhi Leonard needs 50 points to break Michael Jordan's record for most points in a single postseason. And when you look at this game, Seth, and you think about what's at stake, what comes to mind about this one for you, specifically about the Raptors?
Raptors close it out on the road. They close it out on the road because they defend the three-point line. Look, Golden State won a 1-point game and outscored the Raptors by 12 3-point shots. So look, if you're Nick Nurse, we're forcing them inside the line. Now, to do that, they got to take good shots. They got to take care of the basketball because bad shots and obviously turnovers create transition. Guys are running to the 3. Defenses in set. Guys are knocking down 3s. The X factor in the game, Pascal Siakam. When he plays well, his athleticism, his length, his ability to get to the rim, his ability to get them easy baskets, their defense, I think that will be the difference. But I think they close that out in Game 6, and I think Siakam is going to be the difference in the game.
Here's what I wonder. The impact of emotion, because I can't imagine that there will be a more emotional scene that we've seen in the NBA in a really long time than what it's going to be like in Oakland on Thursday night. Laura just went through the history of the arena. This is a game most of those fans thought they'd never get. They'd never get one more game in that building. They're moving across the bay. There are a lot of implications of that to the people in Oakland. This is a huge, huge game at home. And all of the emotion of losing KD and everything else. I mean, Jalen came on here yesterday and said, write it down, the Warriors are going to win by 15 because of the emotion. How much does that actually play into a game?
Which I totally disagree with Jalen. Look, if I'm Nick Nurse and the Toronto Raptors, I have the perfect guy for an emotionally driven basketball game.
Kawhi Leonard, yeah.
Right? And then, too, with his championship experience, that's what people haven't talked about. Kawhi's been in this situation before. This is not this is a new thing for the Toronto Raptors. This is not new. Kawhi came from a franchise that went into a lot of emotional games where people were playing hard to win. And also Danny Green. But to your point, Seth, when you talk about the three-point line, you have to keep Clay and Steph off the three-point line and force other people to shoot. They talked about it during the Cavs when they left Draymond Green with people 15 feet away from him and Andre Iguodala, and they're not taking shots. And then, too, another thing that I saw is these ball screen switches with DeMarcus Cousins.
Late in the game.
How much of that plays a factor with Marc Gasol knocking down shots? Because he looked hesitant to take jumpers as well.
Well, early in the game, they're going to put DeMarcus in a lot of ball screens. There's no doubt about it. But you talk about emotion. Unless KD's coming through the tunnel like Will Street did, all right, there can be all the emotion you want. 14 quarters won by the Raptors.
No question.
4-1 by the Golden State Warriors. One of them, obviously, KD played in the game.
Right.
The Raptors have been, I wouldn't say dominant, but the better team.
Yeah.
And the better team will figure out a way to run them off the three-point line. Siakam will be an X factor. The last thing is Kyle Lowry must stay aggressive. When he's aggressive, it's easier for everyone.
We'll see. I mean, Laura just pointed it out. Home court has been a disadvantage. A home team hasn't won a game in this series since game 1. We'll see if the Warriors can change that and force a game 7. Jalen.
Watched last night. Warriors got by the Raptors, but this was the bad news on that play there. Kevin Durant trying to come back down 3-1, injured out of the game after a fast start. Our league sources tell us the Warriors believe the MRI Kevin Durant underwent will confirm an Achilles tear. We bring in Shanae Ogumike, a member of the Sparks, a #1 pick in the WNBA, member of our team as an analyst. We're not saying your injury a few years back to the Achilles and KD's are carbon copies, but really any rehab of the Achilles-related injury is somewhat similar. Take us through the process. How difficult is it?
As a basketball player, an Achilles injury is probably, if not the hardest thing to overcome. And I'll take you through the process, but it's a twofold process. On one side, there's the physical. 8 weeks, you're gonna be non-weight bearing. You can't stand on your own 2 feet. Then after that, you have to relearn how to walk, relearn how to run, relearn the game of basketball, which you've known your whole life. And you start questioning yourself, which leads to the second side, the mental aspect. The self-doubt will creep in. That might be the actual hardest part about coming back from an injury. But there's good news for Kevin Durant. Right here, I am a living embodiment of coming back. Yes, you can make it. Now, I know the list is short of people that have had this injury and have had success after. Dominique Wilkins, myself, but the list will get longer. You can add Breanna Stewart to that, and you can also add Kevin Durant because science has changed and athletes have better chances than before to emerge stronger.
There's a whole bunch of pain involved, too, just in the rehab part. They're back there pinching on your Achilles, trying to break up the scar tissue. How tough is that?
That is an extremely difficult thing to try to wrap your mind around, going in every day and experiencing pain where you didn't have it before. And again, it's probably going to be, and it will be, a long process. It'll be a tough process. It'll be a grueling process. But you know me, I'm an optimist. There's always beauty in the struggle. Now, a lot of people have talked to Kevin Durant and around Kevin Durant about his decisions, right? And we tend to judge him not necessarily just as a basketball player, but as a human being. But one thing I learned coming back from my own Achilles injury is that as a human being, you emerge stronger than ever before. And I think that might unleash the best version of Kevin Durant, the individual, both on and off the court. So it's not a death sentence for your career to have an Achilles injury, but you have to trust the process, be committed to the process, and you'd be surprised. You might turn the corner and emerge stronger than ever.
I was going to ask what advice you've given. I think you just gave it. Thanks for joining us. Good luck in your game Friday in Phoenix.
Thank you so much.
To be. But he was hardly the only grade 1 talent on Duke's team. We'll introduce you to the others one at a time. All right, let's go with R.J. Barrett tonight. And just for a minute, let's forget about his basketball talent, which is rich. He's bilingual, for one. He's the godson of Steve Nash, for 2. Also, he knows Maria Taylor.
R.J. Barrett, Duke University. Shout out to my mom, who just got out of knee surgery. I love you, Mom, and I wish you could be here.
Barrett gets by the defense and flushes with a vicious left hand.
Barrett living up to the hype.
I know I do this to you every time, but...
Oh, here we go. Why she gotta do me like that?
Qu'est-ce que tu penses que jouer au basket dans la NBA?
Je voulais jouer dans la NBA depuis que j'avais comme 8 ans, 10 ans, alors je suis très content que j'ai l'opportunité.
When did you learn how to speak French?
I was young. My dad was playing basketball in France, so for 4 years I was there and just learning the language. And when I came back to Canada, I stayed in the French system all the way up until high school, so I've been speaking French most of my life.
I know when you were younger, your dad tells a story about the day that you come up to him and say, Dad, I'm gonna be an NBA All-Star. And he pulls out a whiteboard and says, okay, let's write down the goals that we have to accomplish to get there. Take me back to that moment.
Well, back then I had no idea how hard it would be, but my dad just told me, write down your goals and achieve them one by one. And, that's just what we did.
Describe some of the goals that were on the whiteboard.
Whether it was being a McDonald's All-American or, going to a top school like Duke or Kentucky, North Carolina, and being a high draft pick, and then just, slowly, one by one, All-Star, MVP, everything, Hall of Famer was my big one at the end, so it's actually a lot of fun. I looked down at the whole column was gone already, so, it's exciting, but even though that column's gone, there's still so much more on the whiteboard that I have to achieve.
Outside Barrett launches a lefty three that's all net.
The nickname they came up with, what was it?
They call me the Maple Mamba. I like that a lot. You know, the Canadian Maple Leaf, so I get to rep my home, and also Kobe's mentality, that Mamba mentality, and my competitive nature. So, you know, both together, you get the Maple Mamba.
Canadian basketball. That's a little different too. In a lot of ways, you were off the radar till you were on it at Duke. How does it compare?
It's different playing style. You know, it's international, so definitely a lot. The rules are different. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like I'm lucky because I have the international side and the American side, so, you know, I feel like I have an advantage.
What was that like for you to watch your godfather, Steve Nash, playing the NBA?
It's kind of funny because I just remember being, I think I was 10 or 11 years old, and he was playing against Kobe. I was like, Dad, what's Uncle Steve gonna do against Kobe? But nah, just to, you know, see the things that he went through kind of, you know, just kind of prepared me for real. I was able to watch, you know, what he was doing and say, I want to be in that position one day. So now I'm here.
What did he tell you about being in that position?
There's gonna be, you know, rough days, tough times. You don't want to do it, but, you know, just to remember that, you know, you wanted this life, you chose this life, and there's so many more benefits. So to just, you know, keep stay humble and just work harder than anybody else.
Your dad said that Steve Nash bought you your first crib. I mean, when you hear something like that, what's your reaction?
Just, he cares, you know, and it's not like it's just now because I'm starting to, you know, get into the NBA and stuff. It's since before I even knew who he was. So he's always been there in my life, and I appreciate that.
And obviously the brotherhood that everyone talks about between you and Zion. You're in the middle of it. Describe it for me.
It's great, you know, he's just my friend, you know. To me, we're just boys, but then, you know, to everybody else, it's, you know, they see us as these, you know, great basketball players. So for us off the court, like, for the most part, we don't talk about any of that stuff. We just, you know, just cool together, I guess.
What are y'all doing off the court?
We actually, more than anything, go out to eat. We just eat all the time. Just eat, just, you know, just do things that, you know, 18-year-olds do.
Okay, if you could put together the perfect meal for RJ and Zion, what's it gonna be? Where y'all going?
We're either going to Wendy's or Zaxby's. Probably Wendy's, and we're gonna get a Baconator, a couple Baconators, so, yeah.
He'll be able to afford many Baconators soon. Here's a look at Jonathan Gavoni's updated mock draft. 9 days away from hearing the real names at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Not much of a surprise in the top three. Got Barrett going to the Knicks. Last time New York selected a player from Duke, but back in 1982, they took Vince Taylor in the second round. Yeah. Averaged 3 points per game in his lone season at MSG.